Thank you, Goutham. Joining Goutham this morning on the panel, we have Srikant P. Kurup, who is the business head, Toll and Transit Payments, IDFC First Bank India Limited. May I request Srikant to please take a seat. We also have with us Niraj Tralshawala, business head, Payment Solutions and Consumer Finance, ICICI Bank. Welcome, Niraj. We also have with us Nikhat Ansari, who is the head sales and strategy, Ador Powertron Limited. Welcome, Nikhat. We also have with us this morning Varun Ahooja, who's the vice president payments at Paytm. And joining all of them will also be Jayprasad Hegde, who's the head data science at the NPCI. Welcome all, and I hand it over to Goutham now to take it from here. Goutham, please.
Hello everyone, a warm good morning to all the panelists and the visitors, delegates. So as you have seen, the topic is on the challenges, but I just first introduce what is ANPR to every one of you. So tolling in India has been since ages, and it has been mostly a cash dependent process. And so not very far in our memories, we remember waiting in queues before the toll plazas, waiting for the change. And that is where we brought in FASTag, which is an RFID-based solution, and that enhanced this digital experience at the tolling. And people started having a great experience while they are traveling. They need not worry about change anymore. And they just have to remember to recharge their FASTag and then they can zip through. But still, there was one step that was still hurting the people, was that they still there is a barrier, and there is still the people need to slow down and they need to stop to make the payments and then move ahead. So that is where the vision of free flow tolling came into the picture, where we want to have an free flow experience where the vehicle is not stopping, they are zipping past through at their own speed, like 80 kilometers per hour or 100 kilometers per hour, and they don't have to slow down. And still they are making their payments, and both the users as well as the operators and the authorities, all their needs are fulfilled. So that is where two technologies are taking the center stage. One is this ANPR, which is a computer vision technology, and next is GNSS, which is a global navigation satellite system based technology. So these both technologies have promising futures, but as you know, every technology has its own challenges. So on this ANPR, we will be debating and discussing on how we will, what are the challenges that can come across in this implementation, how we can mitigate them. And as you know, India is a very large country. It has a different kind of challenges. Maybe this has been implemented at various countries across the world and in certain scales. But when it comes to India, it's about scale, and there is diversity in terms of climate, in terms of regulations at different states and everything. So all these challenges will be taken up one by one, and we'll see if we have a ready-made solutions from our experts, and if there is more to discuss and develop further. So welcome everyone again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll start with the lady. So maybe you have an experience in implementation of this technology at certain places. So what was the major challenges that you came across, and if there is any solution that you implemented to overcome it?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. So particularly when we talk about the challenges on the highway or Indian roads, I mean, challenges are many, right from the allotment of the tender to the ground level till the execution. But specifically, if we talk about the ANPR, then, you know, in India, we have a fascination towards using all sorts of fancy number plates, wherein we use typically different sorts of designs. And if you see Maharashtra, then, you know, here in Maharashtra, people have a fascination of using the local language number plates. So what happens, the camera, this is the major challenge that we face when it comes to ANPR failure or the challenge or with the camera. the camera fails to capture the clear image. And when it fails, then in that case, we face generating the challans for the tolling as well. So that is one thing. Second is that in India, we are not using axle through ANPR. Because when we talk about axle through ANPR, then like in other countries, in Germany, in Dubai, or in Australia, majorly we use axle. Because it helps you in the classification of the vehicle, it counts and helps you in the detection of the axle. Eventually, it is increasing the count on ANPR. So that is what we face in India.
Okay, understand. So Jay, as you are like part of the innovation, and all these challenges are like to start with going to hit us in the beginning of the implementation itself. So how can we, so is the algorithms ready to read those fancy number plates where people for 8055 they put it as boss and papa? All these things are like quite common in India, and we have been seeing in the news, and as soon as the ANPR comes into the picture, these are the things that is highlighted. So how we can overcome this?
So, you know, the biggest problem in India, especially since I come from Delhi, so in Delhi NCR, the biggest problem is that तुझे पता है मेरा बाप कौन है? So that is one thing we have. But other than that, we are improving and we are working towards the new innovation and the technology, because earlier, if you are aware of that, we used to use 2D radars. Now we are using 4D and 5D radar. So the size has increased, as in we are using 24 gigahertz radar plus 9 to 12 megapixel of camera. So that problem we have overcome with that problem, wherein with 2D radar, it wouldn't capture the clear image. But with 4D and 5D, we are able to capture the clear image and in all sorts of weather conditions.
Okay. Jay, you want to add on this?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jayprasad. I think that's an interesting question, and it's a loaded question also, because is there a yes answer to it, or is there a no answer to it? Okay. But let me take a slightly more holistic perspective to the question itself. I think when we look at ANPR technologies and computer vision technologies which have evolved over 20 years, and I've seen them evolve over 20 years, I think we are in a much better position right now at this point of time compared to even 10 years back, when thinking about neural networks was almost impossible. I think there is something to be said for introducing technologies like this at a scale which we are thinking of. What I would want to add there is spurious number plates like the ones that you're mentioning, for instance, will be a challenge, but it's not necessarily that they'll be solved by the same vision pipeline. Maybe there is a secondary vision pipeline that uses a slightly different area of AI which can detect that. So for instance, we're talking about deep learning and vision and basically detection of those number plates. I think that is the people who are in this space generally know those terms. They are well aware of what are the camera technologies, how they've evolved over a period of time, why multifocus cameras matter, why high frame rate cameras matter. I think you are seeing the technology evolve to such an extent that we are taking care of the large number of use cases well. And these spurious cases, if either through standardization of number plates, one, or we utilize an image search technique on the other hand, for instance, to take care of them, maybe there is a solution out, for instance. But I think let's not be too down about the technology itself, or let's not be too down about the state of affairs of number plates in India. Because if you remember when digital payments started, when the whole thing started, I remember my peers telling me, UPI is never going to work in India, where nobody has a data line at all. And right now you see the prevalence of UPI across, right? So maybe we are looking for that UPI story here, from a number plate perspective, from a technology perspective, to bind everything together. I would like to end on that optimistic note here.
Yeah, so
I'd just like to add one more thing to what he said. So as he rightly mentioned, when UPI started, we all didn't have the vision basically and the belief that it will work in India. You may correct me if I'm wrong. But similarly, when we started FASTag back in the year 2016, I remember, We just started with 3% and we did few POCs in 5 to 6 cities, including few heavy vehicles and small sized vehicles. And from that 3 to 4%, today we have achieved 97%. So I think that's a big difference, number one. Number two, not only the standardization of number plates as per the laws is important, but equally the location of the number plate is important because that makes an enormous difference. Because if you see in heavy vehicles, especially in trucks and buses, the location of the number plate is not correct. And half of the number plates are hidden. So in that cases also the ANPR camera fails.
Correct. Okay. And just to continue with Jay actually, so Jay mentioned about UPI. So we have evolved from an era where customers asking, can I pay through UPI, to an era now where we say that whether I cannot pay through UPI, why can't I? So Niraj, I would like to ask this question to you. So banks have played a major role in bringing this change. So whether in tolling, whether in this technology, we are seeing such a phase when people are asking, why should I stop for tolling? And how this can come up?
So I think I'd slightly go roundabout in the answer. So first and foremost, where we started in 2016 to where we are in 2022, it's a huge leap that the industry has taken. And not just banks, NPCI, NHAI, IHMCL, and lots of concessionaires and lots of people have played their part in ensuring that we get there. 22%, in 2022, where we are at 97%, I honestly believe that this, the next leap also is possible from moving away from a boom barrier to a barrier-less movement. It's possible. Obviously, there are some challenges that we need to navigate. I don't think those challenges are difficult to navigate. There must be some enforcement mechanisms that will need to be put in place to get there. It's possible. FASTag has brought us to a level where the next level of evolution can happen. Whether it happens with FASTag, whether it happens through a combined or a hybrid system. Because I think India is a very different topography as well as a government or an ecosystem in terms of state, central, etc. Wherever GPS, etc. has been enabled in a smaller ecosystem. Right. We are a slightly more complex ecosystem, both in terms of the way the geography or the topography is, also the way our ecosystem is managed, central, state, etc. So I think it will evolve. I think a hybrid system will fall in place. Without FASTag is to be seen, because I think what has got us here has to be used to be able to get to the next level is what I personally believe.
Right. So good. Thank you for that opinion, sir. And so as Niraj mentioned, it is like you are going to have enforcement. So enforcements become an important part of this ecosystem because the vehicles are not going to stop and the stakeholders cannot take losses, right? So the fund flow has to happen seamlessly. So Srikant, on this, like, how can this enforcements come into picture? And as you have been an first point of touch to the customers, do you think the enforcements will help, and can this go ahead?
Yeah, surely. So I think while I'll comment on that, the most important aspect is that I think what Niraj was saying and we always saying is that how did we reach this topic today, right? I mean, when we are speaking about challenges in ANPR, what led to this phase where we are right now? So I mean, some of us have been fortunate to be in that starting of the journey. It's not been an automatic, natural event which happened that 97% of people are paying tolls, right? I mean, it's been a real orchestrated effort, right? And thanks to the leadership of this country and so on, who made it enforce. So we always believe, or when we see it now, it's mostly technology, then enforcement, and the last one, customer convenience, right? I mean, these are the three factors which have led to where we are, and we are speaking about, seamless driving and so on, which I think it's the right thing to do, because we all want better roads. If you need better roads, I'm seeing friends here from the other side. where, you know, if they have to build better roads, if they have to maintain, revenue has to be there, right? I mean, so transparency has to be there and so on. Second is that if a person will have to move faster, so I was reading somewhere about the time taken at a toll plaza, which has come down with FASTag, right? So all these events are there. So taking cue from what he was saying, Niraj was saying, it's absolutely right, is that we need to learn from what has happened. So when I'm saying, I'll just skip the technology for experts here, enforcement, how did FASTag reach this stage? There was a mini enforcement which happened in between, right? Wherein they said that it's going to be mandated. First it was one lane, then all the lanes, then there came a penalty, right? I mean, so that's what happened in FASTag story where it was enforced. Now, when you're seeing, now imagine the toll barrier is not there and people always say that, look, if I don't pay, and we Indians, you know, we are not that, you know, in terms of a behavior, we don't pay on time. I was just again reading somewhere that utility bills, right? It's hardly 20% people who pay on time, right? So it's not that we always pay. But then, if you see enforcement plus convenience to pay, will of course make sure that, you know, people are going to pay, right? I mean, it's not that we are all bad or we don't want to pay. It's only about that how convenient it is to pay. And again, the same thing, learning from what he was saying, we have almost around 5 crore plus FASTags which are which are pasted on vehicle. In that, almost 3.5 crores of FASTags have got balances, right? So when we started, I'm sure that people here, I mean, at that time would be aware, they were all saying, even it came in the press and so on, that who is going to recharge a prepaid instrument, keep some money in that tag, and it's India, hey, look, I mean, we don't do that, right? And that's where we are right now. And second was that who's going to recharge? Like, how will we be recharging it? That's where all the ecosystem partners and others came there, saying that we started various ways of recharging. Now, recharging FASTag is just like 2 seconds, right? So I think yes, we need to enforce. Enforcement, of course, is a large, complex subject. I don't think, you know, we have the time and bandwidth and expertise and skills to be, speak about that. But enforcement plus convenience to pay will make sure that people are going to pay. So I'm very much optimistic in
adoption that, yeah. Will propagate it more than enforcement.
Absolutely,
is what.
Absolutely.
Okay, I understand. And to Varun, actually, you have seen that there is some intentional things that we discussed about the number plates and all, but still there could be noises as well. So that was not intentional. The customer's number plates are read incorrectly. So one thing is not getting charged, where we are facing a financial loss to the operators. And there is another thing, that is when a wrong customer is getting charged. So when I haven't traveled, but due to the number is being read as, instead of 5, it is read as 6 and all. Yeah. So in that case, a different customer can get charged. So how can we overcome that, in your opinion?
Yeah, so taking cue from what Niraj also mentioned, that the hybrid system is the one that we see as the one which will result in the highest levels of customer satisfaction. See, at Paytm, for example, we're a tech product company at the end of the day, right? And customer is the king. Right. The reason why, just taking another step back, the reason why, even despite the mandate of FASTag being compulsory, the customers were willing to go to it is because they themselves felt the ease and convenience, right? And that's the reason it moved from 3% to 97%. There are those remaining 3% that are still left behind, but that's a different matter. The reason why these customers will again move to the new technology, right, will be again for the ease of convenience of saving that average 47 seconds that is being stopped at the toll, right? So the customers, I'm fairly certain, and we've seen that with the case of FASTag as well, will be willing to move to the new, more seamless system. Now it's for us to figure out what hybrid model can we use to ensure that the customer convenience is kept at a priority. At the same time, the operators don't end up losing out. And therefore, just slightly technical in nature here, but if your vehicle registration number, right, is mapped uniquely to a FASTag, which is uniquely mapped to a prepaid wallet, right, which is a fully KYC'd information, right? So if there's no one-to-many relationship on any of these 3 parameters, then it's fairly easy. So you could, for these 97% of the cases, you will be able to deduct the money from the FASTag, but for whatever is left behind, if you're able to capture the number plate for the remaining ones, then because it is still linked to a unique FASTag, which is linked to a unique wallet, you would still be able to afford the customer convenience without any loss to the operator. That's the opinion that we have.
Okay, nice. So, so if you see this movement in the highways is actually related to our economy, as we were discussing. So the speed in which the vehicles are flying on the highways is adds up to the speed in which the economy is going to grow. So when we were coming out of the lockdowns and our slowdowns during the pandemic, so we were tracking what is the FASTag data, and we said that the economic activity is picking up. So yes, so all these adds value to it. And as Srikant was mentioning that there are technological challenges, right? So Jay, can you add something on what are the technological challenges that we will face, like on the connectivity side, while this is going to be an vision technology, right? So you're going to capture images, feed, and you're going to move it into a server where you're going to process it and then initiate transactions on the customers. So any challenges that we can see from the technology point of view which we need to overcome?
From a pure architecture perspective, it's obviously an India scale architecture that you're thinking of. You're designing for a massive challenge right from the word go. Challenges are obviously there, and the scale is the largest part of the challenge. If you're dealing with, let's say, vision-related gantries or vision-related stop points, or vision-related points where the car goes through at 100 kilometers per hour. Now you're dealing with data which is much larger than what a FASTag is generating, and much faster also, right? So the platform obviously is now a much larger piece of the story. The platform now has to take into account cases whereby maybe a toll plaza goes down, for instance. Can you still continue the calculation? And it takes the burden of responsibility much more in terms of figuring out what are the gaps here, for instance. Did I miss a vehicle on the way? Can I do some calculation at a later point, for instance? And as you start accumulating all these points, you'll understand that now you are building a platform which is truly next-gen in nature and is addressing solutions that we were not even thinking of earlier. Meaning, you were just thinking of FASTag, stop, start, payment, everybody is happy, 97% is happening. But I think the idea is to go beyond 97%. The vision being you are not stopping largely, but your tolling is being done accurately. I think which addresses both parts of the story, which is the technology part of the story as well as the payments part of the story. And clearly, if we are addressing computer vision as a part of the architecture, for instance, at multiple points, now I would not say it's challenging, but it's definitely a large exercise that needs to be carried out. It's an exercise that almost everybody will definitely have to buy in at some point of time, because it's not the case where NPCI develops an architecture and everybody is forced into it. I think we work with everybody here to figure out what is the right kind of architecture which solves both the technological needs at each of these points and also the payment needs, whether they are met or whether they need to be resolved through a dispute resolution, for instance, right? So, yeah.
So I'll just add to what you said. I think, see what has got us here in terms of, I have seen this evolution since 2017, maybe end of 2017 is when I joined this business. I think from 2017 to 2022, a lot of changes have happened. ICD 2.5, toll plaza connectivities, banks ensuring violations, chargebacks, this, that, and the other. So I think we've got there. My sense is once we are able to create that right hybrid model, because I know what works abroad is not going to work in India. We'll have to kind of curate a product for India. So what has got us here will get us there in some sense. Maybe a hybrid approach will work. And a lot of the back-end work has already happened in terms of the customer's mindset saying that, I have to load my card or tag before I move forward. All that has happened. In fact, there are instances, anecdotal instances where, people are stopping in front of us, we honk because the guy has forgotten to recharge his FASTag. So next time he's not going to do it because he's going to ensure that he doesn't want that honking. So I think my sense is technology will evolve as we go along. It's not going to be right first. It is going to be an evolution over a period of 4 or 5 years. It has taken 6 years to get here. So it will be another 6 years to get to the next level, and there again we will evolve, is my point of view.
I agree.
Just like to add one thing. So, since Gautam, you asked about the technology, so I'd just like to share with you guys that payments, relating payments to ANPR is one thing. But then, we are also responsible for reducing the fatality count in India. And because that is my personal interest, so we are actually trying to incorporate driver distraction technology with ANPR. So because we know that, the data says that we are losing one life in every 4 minutes. And I think as an industry experts, we are the best placed people who can actually reduce around 150,000 fatalities across India around the year. So what DD technology does is that it helps not only with the distracted driving, that is because most of the people who are losing lives on the road is because of the mobile phone usage. So it will detect the mobile phone usage, even if you're reading the text, you are messaging, you are not wearing your seat belts. So in India, wearing seat belts at the rear seat is not mandatory as of now. But in other countries, it was there since 1997. So we are trying to bring in that technology and incorporate with ANPR, that is one. Mobile phone usage, that is two. Reading and messaging, that is three. And last is definitely helmet violation and red light violation. So yeah, that is as per the ANPR and technology front.
So with ANPR, we are going to install cameras across the highway. So this feed that we are going to get is not only limiting to the payments industry, and it can be used, that feed can be used for several cases. Like Nikhat was mentioning, we can we can do the enforcements, and we can see whether the how the driver is behaving while he is driving. There is rash driving. How many people are inside, what they are doing inside. So there is a lot of things that can, insights can be given, and that can be highlighted to the authorities to take appropriate actions. So, on tolling, it's basically a payment process. So when we came to the FASTag ecosystem, we mandated that all the payments will be done through FASTag. So there is only one payment mode. So when we are moving into this ecosystem where it is going to be quite flexible, and we are going to provide options for the customers to link their payment modes to their vehicle registration numbers. So how do you see that space, whether like how would we be implemented? So it should start with an single payment mode, or we should give a customer option to link multiple payment modes. So, and this will actually have, so I'll just load this question again.
I'm waiting for that.
Because a major problem that we are facing in FASTag is when the tags do not have balance and there is blacklisting and all. So this is a serious problem which we can mitigate. So that is why I just wanted to bring that question to you.
No, so I'll tell you what. So I think the question that you want to ask, and I'll just paraphrase it so that your question is clear to everybody in the room. What is the role of banks in the evolving ecosystem? That's really the question essentially. So I'll start with what the banks have, and all stakeholders have played their roles. So banks have not just been the role of issuing the tag, and I think that's something that I want to clarify for everybody. The role that the banks have played in the FASTag ecosystem is not just issuance of tag and managing the tag. There is a lot of back-end work in terms of managing the entire ecosystem, in terms of the chargeback, in terms of the violations, ensuring that the concessionaires are taken care of, ensuring that the toll collection is happening on time, etc. So the role that the banks have played thus far in this current scheme of things is being a core part of the entire ecosystem in terms of ensuring that the customer is connected. So for example, I'll just take the case of ICICI Bank. The way FASTag is currently embedded in ICICI Bank, it almost looks like it's our product. And with the way of auto recharge, ability to apply for a tag, ability to ask for a replacement, ability to get your statement, etc., etc. So we've become embedded in the ecosystem. I don't know the role that the banks will play going forward, but I honestly feel that as the ecosystem evolves, the roles of the key stakeholders will get formed on their own. Whether it is going to be an ANPR based, because finally there is a payment system that needs to be connected to the entire ecosystem. How that gets connected will be as per the technology, the way it evolves. Customer today loads Uber through multiple channels, right? I'm just giving you an example of Uber. You have an Uber app, you can load it through multiple channels. That's an app. That evolution could actually happen saying the FASTag or the tolling system becomes an app where multiple payment systems get connected. But that's just one part. We are missing the entire part of toll management at the plaza, acquiring the transaction, ensuring chargeback, ensuring violation management, ensuring recon on time. So all these things, I think the role will evolve over a period of time is what my sense is. Srikant, you may want to add.
Yeah, actually,
No,
Srikant,
no, I'm
I
so
want
happy
you to
that,
add
I mean,
actually.
the big man has said that, we all would be there, our jobs are safe and secure, right? So, yeah, but on a serious note, I think yes, very, I mean, it's true that, payments would be there and so on and so forth. Again, it's back to the convenience part, where we were speaking about and how it has to be done. Just a couple of things on the technology side. When we started, the FASTag part, we were always saying that, I still recollect a mail which came long back saying that there are 1 lakh blacklisted tags. How will the plazas get that? How are you going to do that? And some of us here are aware that close to 2 crore FASTags are in blacklisted and low balance status and so on. So that scale will be evolving. And when we started the API, I mean, after 2 years of FASTag, I think we used to, so the average time was around 70% of transaction were sent in a day's time, right? Now I believe it is 80% in whatever 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So the scale is happening, and you are also aware. On the image side, while I'm not an expert like you guys on the tech side, in the image side, we also had, I mean, I'm sure that many of the banks have done, we process most of our violations and other things on image-based, the automated factors, right? We ourselves handle on basic image-based automation close to 100,000 cases every day without any kind of manual intervention. So I think image is something which will happen. We as a bank also, we are like deeply invested into the image-based payments. I'm not just saying about tolling side, which is bound to happen. Yeah. So Niraj, thanks for making sure that we are here. And I think
So I'll just take 1 second of each one of you. So if given a chance to link your one of the payment instrument to your VRN, which one it would be? Whether it would be UPI or card or FASTag or what it would be?
For the payment of toll?
Yes.
Look, I mean, I'll be very happy to do it on a FASTag because, anyway, my behavior has
Okay, I
changed
just
over the
want that
last 4
answer.
years.
What about you?
As of now, FASTag. I don't see the next evolution yet. So as of now, it's FASTag. I don't know what the answer will be 3 years from now. Maybe we'll connect again.
Sure.
I totally second their thought.
Okay, what about you?
The same. It just works.
Okay, so prepaid instrument still stays a favorite part of the payment instrument.
I just
Jay,
want on a lighter note, who's going to expose a bank account to a government? Think about it.
Jay, your choice?
I think UPI makes sense, but in a sense, I agree with all of them.
Scott here.
Jay, but I mean, if as you are aware, FASTag as a recharge option or FASTag as a PPI is linked to UPI also. Every tag which is issued comes with a virtual address, right? So while I'm saying that I'm happy to pay from FASTag, it's actually from my bank account which it comes, right? It could be from any bank. It could be through any mode. Right? So I think, we're just saying the form factor, but it's open to it.
It is not that NPCI people say it is UPI. It's genuinely a favorite product of everyone, so that's why I say.
No, it's प्यार तो होता ही है.
So I think we're just bound by the moment right now because since we are so used to FASTag and it's a comfort factor for all of us, right? On this panel, in a sense, because we've dealt with FASTag, we understand the ecosystem well, we understand what happens if things don't work. So people have bought into it. And if we let's say 2 years down the line, if we are trying to project ourselves about what could be a much more smoother way for both the payments to happen and as well as the entire ecosystem to evolve, maybe one of the other payment systems like UPI could be the way forward also, for instance. Eh,
Yeah. So before going to the audience, as we spoke about UPI, I just have a question to Varun. So see, we all remember like the digital payments is not new to India. It has been from quite some time. We have had cards, we have had several modes of payments, but it did not pick up to this scale that it has now. And the major play it has been on the UPI side has been the mobile experience. So a customer need not actually carry anything physical, and he can have a clear mobile experience. He can just pick out his mobile and just scan it and pay it. So this mobile experience so I think that is the same state I think we are standing right now in the mobility payments use case. So how can this mobile experience, because as from Paytm side, you would have an experience in that side also. So I just want your views on that. How can this mobile experience bring about a change in this?
Right. All right. So let's put this question into a perspective. Again, just coming back to what are we solving for, right? So just from an ANPR perspective, just coming back, right? Are we solving for payments, or are we trying to solve for free mobility? If payments is already taken care of by FASTag, then let's solve the second piece. Right, is what I would say, because as the panelists have also just mentioned that all the hard work that so many entities have collaborated over the last 6 odd years have resulted in such a fantastic world-class leading product, why let go of it, right? And if all the learning that we've had on it, using a seamless payments experience here, regardless of anything, any new product that's coming out, right, unless it really ends up beating the benchmarks of the existing product, well, again, from a customer convenience perspective, I wouldn't go for this new product. So just a couple of data points here, right, that I would like to throw to the audience. So for some banks, the approval rate on FASTag acquiring is 99.97%. That's the highest. On FASTag issuance, it's about 99.48%. And chargeback, like we were mentioning, is 0.12%. If such are the benchmarks that we have for FASTag, the new technology, either on payments or ANPR or GNSS or anything else, needs to beat this benchmark. Only then will we have the customer delight at the end of the day, right? And therefore, just now coming to your question on mobile payments, there is a way to load the FASTag, right? There are multiple payment options that do exist, right? And I'm fairly certain that unless the new solution that we end up making beats the convenience that FASTag provides, we might just stick to it, rather than looking at building something new that might not solve for an existing problem. And maybe a couple of years down the line, maybe we have a problem that emerges out of it, right? Like the large count of blacklisted tags, for example, that you have, right? And maybe we would work with a solution to ease out the pain on those problem areas. And certainly we can use mobile payment acceptance and technology to do so, because the depth of smartphones, right, is increasing day by day, thanks to the brilliant telecom policies that the government also had, right? Completely kudos to that. And so the benefit of using a smartphone is that it has its own GPS chip as well, right? Now, how can you utilize the KYC database of the banks, right, with the fact that you have a VRN? Again, can you then link it to GPS? So think about making a one-to-one relationship of, say, your Ador with your PAN, right, with the bank account, with the FASTag, with the vehicle, and then with the GPS. Because it's all technology that can be linked through APIs and can be read at an instant, we can combine if not all of it, then some of it, to give out that world-class experience where everybody is happy in the system. The customer does not have to stop at the tolls. The concessionaire gets the entire amount, right? And then, well, the entire ecosystem benefits from it. So that's what I would say. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are open to the audience for any questions. Yeah. Mike, please.
So I have a question to the panel. Can somebody give him a mic if possible? Really?
Yeah. So I have a question to the panel. As we are talking about the technology, and we are just moved from, say, a cash toll collection to digitized version of that using Fast Track. So now when we are talking about moving to ANPR, that's the new wave, making it better. It does involve a good amount of reinvestment of changing the current infra into something better. Now, I do understand that we do not want to get into a rip and replace every time we are changing the technology. So there are certain components like FASTag we'll be able to reuse, but there are a good amount of resources which are tied to a certain vendor which we may not be able to reuse. So the question is, when we are trying to build this new technology, new vision, are there any efforts to look for a vendor neutral or vendor agnostic channels which can work across, or anything like an open source technology which can help us for a larger lifetime as we evolve?
I think yes.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And it's a very poignant question also, because generally when we are designing for scale, the usual question as far as infrastructure is concerned is asked is, are we going to face a lock-in of some sorts always? And one thing that we can answer from an NPCI perspective is we go for an architecture which is as open source as far as possible. Because ultimately it's a technology which is going to be used for the public good. I mean, it's not a proprietary piece of technology per se, but if this technology needs partners to scale on their own, maybe they should be equipped with specifications that we all agree upon, and they can grow along those lines, right? So which means that given the responsibility that this stack is the responsibility of all the people here, not just NPCI or the banks, but all the players in the entire loop, I think there is this onus of keeping it as scalable as possible, keeping it in a fashion such that somebody takes a blueprint and is able to implement it immediately, right? I hope that sort of answers your question to an extent.
Just take one more point. So even today, the way FASTag operates, there are multiple system players in the ecosystem, right? There are system integrators who are multiple. There are hosts or service providers who are multiple. It connects to the ICD 2.5 as of now, right? So I think as it evolves, there will not be one player as I see it. There will be multiple players because the integration points are many. There could be an acquiring integration, there will be integration at the toll plaza, there will be integration at the banking payment gateways. So even today, if you count on FASTag, there will be, in my opinion, 100 plus players who are playing their parts. So I don't think that is going to change, is my opinion. Let's see how it goes. 3 years later, we will talk.
If I could just add to that same thing, sorry, I mean, it was a very interesting point. So I was also like wondering, how many channels would be there on that. So as Niraj was saying, it's on both sides, right? When we are saying acceptance here, is that physical toll plaza which we all see, right? So we have got lanes, we have got lane controllers, we have got the physical boxes. There are people over there. They got a plaza office. They have got connectivity. They got Vim over there, AVCs, and so on and so forth, right? So it's a huge hardware infrastructure. If I count the people also as part of hardware or infra, it's a huge scale, right? Now all these things should change. Disruption will happen for sure. If you're speaking about without a boom barrier, you don't need many of these things, right? So some of these players over here who are doing this will have to evolve, or new players will come in and they have to embrace new technology and so on. And I'm sure that most of us in the room who are close to this are always learning how to do that change, right? That's a fact. Second, on the banking side, which we can comment on, right now, broadly, we do only two activities, issuance and acquiring, right? But now we are speaking about enforcement, we are speaking about collection. Now, the current, the ecosystem which we would have done in terms of tech partners, operational partners and so on, needs to change, needs to evolve there also. There would be multiple ways of collecting, which we have seen in, he's the king of consumer finance, so we all do a lot of things on how to collect money, right? So all those will come up, and I think it's going to be an interesting piece to see. Let's really focus on that, and I think it's helpful. Yeah, thanks.
Next question.
Yeah, hi. So my question is about the infrastructure which is there on the toll nakas today. I've been one of an extensive travelers on the road, and honestly, there's a commendable job that people have done to move from cash to FASTag. But for me, none less than standing in a FASTag line for at least 40 minutes every time I travel on the road is really painful, right? The main biggest problem that I see here is the infra. When you actually come on the road and then you get into the toll naka, it doesn't detect the FASTag. Now my question here is, the infra which is put there is really so much weak, and we are planning to get into ANPR technology. Would you really think that we are still not coming out of this technology issue? Would ANPR work at the toll plazas? Is the point that I want to ask you guys.
Can I go first? Yeah. Sorry, so look, I mean, again, we are speaking about payments, and payments is not just technology, right? It's about operations also, right? I mean, one thing which we learned from tolling, which we all have, is that we thought, I mean, once we have a sticker on the screen, cars will zip through the toll plazas and so on. Never, right? It's more of operations, right? I mean, how do you manage their operations over there? You're absolutely right. Why those 40-minute block in certain toll plazas are happening is not because of, there's an issue in the FASTag or the reader is not working and so on. There are operational issues over there. The way the toll plazas have been constructed, it's a 6-7 lane which comes to 4 lanes and so on. And I'm very, I'm sure that people from the government are here. They're working on that to see how that can be decluttered, even without ANPR, with FASTag and so on. I don't want to name any of those toll plazas. They're typical plazas where we know that the plaza should not be there. It should be a bit ahead, right? So someone thought that it should be there. It has been kept over there. And that is why this 40 minutes traffic is there. So, and there is also a 1%, those people, those 3% guys whose tag is blacklisted, who still don't want to pay by cash, that double penalty and all those things. That takes around 2-3 minutes, right? It's not more than that. But more the traffic is happening on an operation standpoint. Whatever we are going to change here, NPR or GNSS and so on, where the gantry has to be there is going to be extremely important. Trust me, whatever best, they all on the technology side will do it. If someone says that the gantry has to be in a specific spot, which makes no sense, the same traffic would happen. You need to slow down at the gantry a bit, right? So I think that's my take. It's not any issue with the payment technology. It's not any hardware reader. There was a reader issue. There was a FASTag RFID issue also at times. But we all have been to multiple places, right? Plazas and so on. The hardware people, builders, construction companies and so on, they have upgraded their hardware like crazy, right? I mean, they have spent money on that over the last 3-4 years because 97% of their revenue is from FASTag. If they don't do it, I mean, they are like gone, right? So I think it's operational more, sir. I mean, I'll just stop over there. Not just about the hardware or the software behind that. And that's my view on that. Thank you.
So typically when we talk about the infrastructure and the operations, there's something that I'd like to share with you all. And a lot of people in India, in the country, are not aware of such provisions. So today on the expressways and the highways, if you are actually standing for more than 7 to 10 minutes, then you have we have a policy at NHAI and Ministry of Roads that you can actually file a complaint against the operator or the EPC. And even if the boom barrier is not opening in 0.06 to 0.09 seconds, because those are the specifications that we mention in the RFP before the allotment of the tender. And if they are not able to fulfill that, we give those rights that you have the provision and you have the right to file a complaint against the EPC. So yeah, but then it doesn't go with the cities or maybe small towns because definitely of the abysmal roads and poor engineering that we have. But yes, it does happen in the highways and expressways.
So I think this is a very important question, and I'd really like to take 2 minutes. Is if you see, let's say the Dahisar toll Naka, for example, I don't think it's an engineering marvel the way the toll Naka is being managed today. There are some 20 lanes that have been created out of 5 lanes or 6 lanes. Nowhere in the world this marvel happens. It only happens in Dahisar and Thane. Right? So I'm just saying we should be cognizant of the fact that the way the plaza, the lanes should have been, these guys have actually made it into a 20-lane plaza. Even then there is waiting. So I honestly feel that it will also evolve. So these 6 lanes have become 20. They will find a way to make it 25, but the traffic never stops. So I think it will evolve. I think where we are in 6 years, another 6 years, sir, we will be in a different position. And I think it's progressing. So that's what we should be happy about, is my opinion. But the only point I'd like to make is remember India and remember the way we are, where we are. US, somebody from consultant from US cannot come and guide us as to how to manage it because they have not seen it. We had appointed some consultant, they told us some X, Y, Z thing that never worked. Because they talked about US template. We want Dahisar template. So.
Thank you. So Indian roads are very challenging when it comes to deploying or implementing some effective solutions and revenue. Definitely because of high traffic density, that is one. And B is because of the public awareness also. So we also need to take the responsibility because I believe no matter whatever technology we bring in, but then if public is not following that, if we as an individual are not taking the responsibility, then I don't think we'll be able to reach anywhere. And to what he said, for one of my previous projects, one of the tunnels, that was the most challenging project that I handled in India. And we appointed one of the most, one of the best consultants from Spain. And but then the kind of designing that they did for the tunnel, I mean, literally, we had to lose out on the revenue part because we already paid for that. And then again, we had to redesign and optimize the entire BOQ. So definitely, people from outside, they cannot come and work for Indian roads, that is for sure.
Hello, I am Praveen from Jayprasad. And as Niraj sir said, we are the guys who implemented the Dahisar Plaza to make it live in fast time. And we are the people who implemented first parking of the country with NPCI so that it is for all. With NPCI, the good way, it is democratic. There is no intellectual property and it is for all. So I am very happy to tell we did first with ICICI.
Made in Dahisar.
Yeah, and it is live. So my question is very practical. The government, the policymakers, everybody puts a lot of effort in implementing something. So my humble question is that these are different technology like FASTag, UPI, ANPR and the GPS. Can we work on evolving a model that is convergence of this technology? Because on one side we have to take care of technical needs and other side we have to take care of the financial payments compulsions. So can there be a convergence? So we NPCI, NHI should work together to integrate these 4 technologies together to handle technical need as well as to fulfill the financial needs. So that convergence, can it happen, or should we talk on that line instead of replacing something? This is my request to NHI also. So this can make both life happy and easier. And the second point is this convergence, can it happen, is question to NPCI guys and NHI guys both. Second is common man perspective. Like a common man doesn't buy a 100 rupee FASTag. How do we expect the guys who use Baba nameplate or Dada nameplate to replace an ANPR nameplate, number plate. So that is a challenge in terms of, customer reach, that they don't really buy 100 rupee FASTag. And we are expecting them to have a ANPR with, costly number plates. So how it will happen? So first is a very positive question, which I want to ask everybody. Let us work for a convergence of everything. And second is implementation of the new model for NPR, how it can happen. So these are two questions for you.
Just before handing over this question to the panelists, so we cannot say that a customer is not ready to buy a FASTag, because we, at present, when we are speaking, we have around 5.8 crore tags that is there in the country, in the whole ecosystem. So I just would like that point to be taken by the banks separately also. Yeah, over to you.
I think he's right in one way. I'll take the second one, Praveen. Like if you see, when we were, about the what you say, high security resolution place, right? Even in this room, I believe how many of you have bought a car post 2019 in this crowd? You can see 1, 2, 3. Not bad. Right? So since 2019, I don't know the date exactly. It is mandatory that every vehicle which is getting going to the RTO should have an high resolution plate, right? Then of course after that, if we changes to whatever we were all speaking in the first part of the meeting, it can happen anywhere, right? So number plate as a challenge, I think it is done. Now coming back to the larger part, which are people who don't have. Believe me, I think it's not that bad to take it's not that tough to buy one, which is on the trade. And so if convenience is there, Praveen, trust me, people will take that plate. People will go through the toll plazas also. On the highway itself, faster, and they will pay also. Now it's about how we speak to people on that.
Then it's to enforcement. Can you help me on first question?
So I think if you followed the panel closely, I think the
Agree.
Sir, nobody knows what's going to evolve. Abhi to, it's slightly further away. I think the decision or the way forward on the next steps is very far away. I think all of us are kind of grappling as to what the evolution will be. We have only seen one pilot of 500 vehicles on Mumbai, Pune or Mumbai, Ahmedabad. It's not a pilot of India. So I think we'll have to wait and watch.
And, we really have to do a lot of hits and trials, because if we are doing 20 POCs, then probably one is working or two is working. So nobody actually knows what is going to work and what is not going to work. But definitely standardization of the plates as per the national regulation is the need of the hour. That is going to help us in a lot of other aspects as well.
Well, I think we have overshot the time. Yeah. I think we can take the questions offline.
Can I just one last point, right? I don't know which technology will eventually be decided, but as a customer, not here as a panelist, but as an individual customer, if there is an entity that I will trust will do the right thing for the customers, it's that combination of NPCI, IHMCL, MORTH, and the like, right? So as a customer, as an Indian, I have complete faith that everything that does get implemented will be thought through from all perspectives and looking at all stakeholders. That's the level of confidence that I have in our existing systems, and I would really implore you to have the same confidence as I do. Thank you.
And can I just say something on my last submission? So I really believe that a lot of things in India has to be enforced by the system. Because if you go back few years ago, and if you go back and see, let's say if we ask somebody today, few years down the line, would you take this? Would you take this? Your answer will be no, because we are so comfortable in our own zones. We don't want to move out of a comfort zone. So everything has to be enforced by the system. Like I said, standardization of the number plates, now we have to enforce it.
Yeah. And so it again, as all of us told, it is going to be hugely dependent on the convenience.
So just wanted to answer you. I think we are headed in the direction of convergence. This is the feeling that I'm getting through the panel, right? I'm sorry you had to wait so long for the answer, but the idea is we don't rip off the current technology and introduce something as a patchwork. The idea is to move seamlessly, as Varun was mentioning earlier, seamlessly from one technology to another as much as possible. At the end of the day, it's both customer convenience and the payment backend convenience that matters. Right? It has to be a win-win for all the players combined for the system to be successful. And if you look at most of the innovations at an India scale that has happened over the last 5, 6, 7 years, that has been the key. How do we scale faster? How do we take everybody along as we scale faster? How do we ensure that all the technologies are democratic enough for people to scale faster, right? And how do we ensure that everything is as seamless as possible? Maybe a nudge along the way, but still be as seamless as possible, right? Thanks.
Yep. Thank you everyone for this. So,
Thank you everyone for
Yeah,
your
thank you
time.
so much,
Thank you.
Goutham, for moderating that session, and the panelists for those engaging